There have always been secret societies, well, as far back as we can ascertain, because there's always been groups of people that wanted to retain secrets to hoard knowledge. If I have a certain highly important level of knowledge and you don't, I am in a position of power over you. We live in a world that actually is made up of two worlds. One is the world that the population live in, and that is limited in terms of the knowledge that it has. This knowledge is kept from the population by not allowing it into the public arena. And this other world is made up of a global network of secret societies in which this knowledge is passed on through the generations of carefully chosen initiates at the core of the core, overwhelmingly coming from a network of interbreeding families. These secret societies are fiercely compartmentalized. You look at just the Freemasons as an example, the bottom 3 levels of degree, the so-called blue degrees, and there's 33 levels. Mm-hmm. And you only progress to the next level, which is what? The next level of knowledge, if that level decides you are worthy of it, or you're the kind of person that should have it. You have, say, the Freemasons, you have the Jesuit order, you have the Knights Templar, and they appear, of course, compartmentalized in their individual pyramids, but there's a level above them. And at that level, which it doesn't officially exist, that's where the real game is going on.
What is written about the Templars is that they were formed in the Middle Ages. They were warriors. They say they invented banking as we know it, and they amassed incredible fortunes, and they offered loans to kings and nations as a way to control them. Then it is said they became builders and pirates and grew more popular and powerful until they were outlawed by the King of France and their leaders were burnt at the stake. But many say they continued in secret and became more occult. It seems there are many secret societies who people believe are ruling the world or producing its leaders, like the fraternity called Ordo Novi Templi, or New Templars, that is said to be behind the rise of Hitler. The fraternity was founded by Jörg Lanz von Liebenfels, a racial theorist, and Guido von List, an occultist.
There are all sorts of secret societies. There are political ones, there are criminal ones, and indeed there are occult ones. I always say that the paranormal is things that happen, and the occult is things you choose to do. You know, so like join a society. And ritual magic, for example, which is all about focusing your will through rituals, and they hope to change the actual world through their will, whether or not they manage it or not is another matter. The Nazis had their roots in a sort of semi-mystical belief system called Ariosophy, which actually came from the 19th century, but built up in importance after the First World War when Germany was beaten, and Germany felt it needed to build up its national pride. So they became very obsessed with Ariosophy, which was basically the idea that the Aryan race was a very ancient race that had ancient wisdom and had mystical roots and was going to rule the world. You have the United States, of all places, you know, being actually founded by unapologetic Freemasons. I mean, you know, they were, you know, there was nothing sinister about them, because at that time, certainly, the pre-Masonic ideal was about enlightenment. So you had, you know, George Washington, you know, Benjamin Franklin, a huge number of the founding fathers were in fact Freemasons. Washington, D.C. was indeed laid out according to Masonic symbolism to stamp the new center, the new capital, with the Masonic presence, if you like. And perhaps some of them did believe it did, you know, protect it in some way.
Seeing Freemasonry and secret societies as a particularly evil organization in the Arab world especially is mostly a product of the second half of the 20th century. But If we look at the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century, we would see that the elites in the Arab world was completely fascinated, actually, by the idea of secret societies, Western secret societies, and Western Freemasonic lodges. The first reason was that the Freemasonry is an elitist group that is interested in hiring and adopting as brothers those who are proved that they are influential in their societies. The second reason, they are different from the colonial, materialist, racist program, and perhaps most importantly, that they claim they had a spiritual aspect to them. The problem with Freemasonry, basically, when it started. One of them that included the elite starting having a problem with Freemasonry, happened when the colonialism ended. A lot of the local elite wanted to be as far as possible from any Western lineage. The second reason, it's an important one, is actually the creation of the State of Israel. That Zionism, in that sense, was always affiliated to some sort of a big Masonic world conspiracy. And linking Zionism and Freemasonry made it very difficult for a lot of Arab intellectuals to want to be affiliated to Freemasonry or to acknowledge the fact that they were or they want to. The third one, perhaps, is that it is true that, especially, and this is relatively new, in the last 30 years mostly, but in a sense, the link between Freemasonry and occultist societies and Zionism to a certain extent and imperial powers, that new network of some sort of a Western, all-powerful secret organizations made it almost impossible today, not very difficult, to claim any affiliation to Freemasonry without fearing the repercussions of it, because of that new idea that was adopted by the public, that Freemasonry is an evil organization.